Yo, what's going on? Boxing Source live on YouTube, and just going through this thing here for a midweek report. Wanted to discuss a few topics in the boxing scene that are, going out and about in this particular juncture. Um, Wanted to, kind of like go through a couple of things, like the thing with the lightweight division. Um, Also, what's going on between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, right? And also want to have a little generalized question for the people out there. So, um, wanted to see if I could get someone in here to be part of this particular discussion. But we also have a few other guests that I may want to add on here. Um, so, like I said, I wanted to go to the lightweight division. You have, of course, the unified champion there, Vasily Lomachenko. You also have the IBF champion in Teofimo Lopez. You also have the WBC champion in Devin Haney, whether he's the WBC champion for real or the WBC champion in recess, whatever. He got the WBC belt at one point or another. So, um, there have been a few things that were originally scheduled to happen around the summer. In reference to the lightweight division, in particular with Ryan Garcia. Of course, he had his win against Francisco Fonseca, and then after that particular bout, Devin Haney stepped into the ring, and those two former rivals in the amateurs started to draw it out, kind of like building a little bit of momentum for a potential bout between those two guys. I think about a couple weeks after that particular fight, they were trying to plan things out for both of those guys before they face each other. They had set up a bout between Ryan Garcia and Jorge Linares. That was supposed to be in the fall. With Devin Haney, they were going to have him face, I think, the mandatory contender Javier Fortuna, or have the mandatory contender Javier Fortuna fight Luke Campbell, and then that winner faces Devin Haney. And then after that, Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia get past those bouts, then they will be able to fight each other in 2021. But this whole thing that happened with the COVID stuff, that basically got pushed back. And for Ryan Garcia, who had bouts slated against Jorge Linares in July, now that there's word that actually may pick up starting in July when it comes to boxing in the U.S., that they don't necessarily want to have Ryan Garcia going up against Jorge Linares at this particular point. So they're kind of like putting something together for Ryan Garcia to face someone else. So with that being said, you have Devin Haney saying that, well, if Ryan Garcia doesn't want to fight Jorge Linares, then why don't I go ahead and have that fight with Jorge Linares? Now, I don't know if that's going to, take place. I don't think that, if Linares is, affiliated with Golden Boy Boxing or Golden Boy Promotions, that they will go ahead and give that okay for Jorge Linares to face Devin Haney, but they'll just put Jorge Linares in the bench on the bench until they have Ryan Garcia there ready to go. So with that being said, I think that you'll have that lightweight division pretty much sorted out. He kind of talked about the thing with Vasily Lomachenko on the podcast because you had there with Vasily Lomachenko that he's had a little bit of reluctance in fighting Teofimo Lopez, in that, once live action is allowed here in the States, then they're going to have Vasily Lomachenko fight in a voluntary defense before facing Teofimo Lopez. And of course, Teofimo Lopez does not want any parts of that. He wants to go ahead and have that fight between him and Vasily Lomachenko as soon as possible. So you want to, go ahead and get that stuff done and out of the way. Teofimo Lopez wants to be that guy that stops Vasily Lomachenko. He wants that type of that type of notoriety to be the first man in the pro ranks to stop Vasily Lomachenko. So, that's the thing there is basically a race with that. And I've said that, multiple times. Now, like I was saying, the thing there with live boxing in July, this has been stated by the likes of Stephen Espinoza, among others, so that we want to see if we could get that live action going. Maybe we will see someone like a Ryan Garcia, but I think that they should try to get some of the smaller scale, or those that don't have that much pro experience out there first. If you have a lot of these guys like the Ryan Garcia, in reference to lightweight division, like the Ryan Garcias, the Teofimo Lopez, the Vasily Lomachenko's, the Devin Haney's, they're in that particular division that say that they don't necessarily want to have their fight happening until it's okay to have a live audience there in attendance, or have something where the live gate is a factor. If that's the case, then I've said it before and I'll say it again. Why not have fighters out there that are either just starting out or only have like about a few professional fights? Put them out there for the quote unquote closed circuit bouts, because when you had regular cards, most of the time when it's a televised card, you had 3 or 4 fights that weren't on TV. So if those fights are not on were not on TV before, then why not have them on there now? It might not be, anything as far as like significance is concerned, but we still have a hunger for live boxing. You had MMA, happen on Saturday. You have MMA UFC happening today, and there may be another card on Saturday. So that's about 3 cards in a course of like 7 to 8 days through the UFC. But we can't have something when it comes to live boxing here in the States or even in the UK. We've had boxing that happened a few weeks ago over in Nicaragua. They're trying a few things over in, I think, Japan pretty soon. So I don't see like how you can't try to get some of these, lower level or lower tier fighters to get out there and, show their stuff. I think that's something that the promoters should consider. I think that's something that, smaller scale promoters should consider as well, and say, hey, I know that, we don't, have much going on right now, but I have these guys that are here. You don't need that much money to put them on, but you could put them on for a purse and then put them on TV and then have them duke it out. And whatever eyes see those fighters, that gives them, more publicity with that than they basically have if they were part of a regular card and a schedule that was, before this whole thing went down. So I say, why not have something like this going on where you have the likes of a like lower tier fighter, doesn't necessarily have to be a contender right now, but like a fighter that's just starting out pretty much, that's like 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, whatever it is, and have them against another guy that's like 4-0, 5-0, and put those guys together like iron sharpen iron. So let's make it happen. We don't need to have these big scale events. You don't need to have the world titles on the line in fights that are closed circuit or don't have an audience there. Just have some of the other fights that you would have on part of your cards that aren't included in the TV portion of your telecast that you have for the likes of a let's say a like say for the Charlo Harrison fight, you had about 3 or 4 fights that weren't part of the TV portion of that, or the Garcia Redcash fight. You had Jared Hurd that was part of it, but there were a couple of other fights that were part of that particular card that weren't shown on TV. So why not have something of that caliber be on TV right now? Whether it's the Zone, whether it's Fox Sports One, whether it's ESPN3, don't matter. As long as it's live sports, and as long as people are able to access it, then they'll watch it. And if they'll watch it and then get a good product from that, then you get more people, interested in your cards in the, future. So, I mean, that's the thing that I have, as far as like that particular instance is concerned. If people want to, join in the conversation, you could follow that link right there that's shown. And if you want to get in on the boxing talk here for the midweek report, then you could get in on it. The next topic that I was going to go through was, the whole thing with the possibility of a fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship. And this has been talked about a few times over the past couple of weeks, but it seems like there has been something that went down on social media today where a certain account posted something in reference to Deontay Wilder, saying that he took step aside money to open the door, or he would agree to take step aside money to open the door for a fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua for the undisputed heavyweight championships. And I'm like, man, like when I saw that, I was like, no, 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 no. That is, something that is way, out of, it's like way out of it. So, my thing is that you have like a, article that is on Boxing Scene that kind of like talks about it. You have something there where it says like, such a matchup was teased earlier in the month. This is through Jake Donovan on Boxing Scene. Such a matchup was teased earlier in the month as being in the preliminary discussion phase, though with several roadblocks, still firmly in place. Fury fights exclusively for ESPN in the United States, while Joshua is aligned with Sky Sports in the United Kingdom and sports streaming service DAZN in the US. And then it talks about the thing in reference to, contenders. And it talks about step aside money. In reference to Deontay Wilder, who was a former WBC champion that did lose to Tyson Fury on February 22nd, 2020. And it's kind of like this is this is something where it just makes a little bit of like actually not much sense. You should be able to see it here. That you know it says that in the way of existing contenders, step aside money would be extended to at least to Wilder, who exercised a contract clause calling for a third fight with Fury shortly after suffering a 7-round knockout, stoppage, in their rematch on February. And then it says, the fight was one-sided enough to where it has been suggested that the 2008 Olympic bronze medalist and now former heavyweight titleist would be best served to take an interim fight. That sentiment is shared by at least one industry insider. Quote, the smallest thing for Deontay Wilder to do is step aside. Tim Bradley, a former two-division titleist and now expert analyst for ESPN, suggested in the most recent installment of the State of Boxing series on the ESPN Plus. Expert analyst. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's probably a few people that will, kind of like disagree about that. That he is an expert analyst. And so it says also that he says, I don't know what's going on with the team right now. Learn his craft and learn how to box. There's no way he's going to bounce back, get in the ring, expecting to beat a guy like Tyson Fury. It's not going to happen. He says, take this step aside money. Be smart about it. Take the easy money and take a tune-up fight. Make a name for yourself once again. Build yourself back up again. Then go after the winner of Joshua and Fury. Now, oh boy. Well, there's something that, I want to kind of bring up in reference to that. And I've kind of discussed this before. That this is someone in Deontay Wilder that is someone that has a lot of pride, and this guy, knows that he had been in this fight with Tyson Fury February 22nd, and he has discussed that he wasn't himself for that particular fight. And when it comes to this thing about step aside or possibly stepping aside for undisputed heavyweight title fight to happen, nah, it's not really going to happen. This is somebody in Deontay Wilder that has, been in kind of this situation before. And that is here where he was the mandatory contender and had the Continental Americas Championship, but the mandatory challenger to Bermane Stiverne back in 2014. Okay, now it says here coming off a 96-second knockout of Malik Scott in the WBC Eliminator bout in March, Wilder is well aware that Vladimir Klitschko, at the time, who was a unified champion, has expressed the desire to fight Stiverne, even as Klitschko has been ordered by the IBF to make his next defense against Kubrat Pulev. Good God! Wait a minute. How many times has Kubrat Pulev been a mandatory contender for the IBF championship? Dude, he has to have, he gotta have people's in his back pocket or something. Good God. That's, like I said, that's 2014, man. But it says here reference to that particular situation back in 2014. It says, quote, only Wilder can reach an agreement with them. Wilder is a mandatory challenger, and the only way to have Klitschko Stiverne happen would be for Deontay Wilder to accept that. We are basing everything on the ruling that was made at the WBC convention in Bangkok in October 2013, and we have been consistent with that ruling. Interesting. Given that, a lot of times people say that unifications trump mandatories, but I guess there with the WBC, that's not the case. And it says here, Wilder said he would consider stepping aside, but only for a significant chunk of cash. It's quote, I heard the same thing that Klitschko wants to fight the firm, but I am the mandatory challenger. So that's the case as it stands right now. With Wilder, who was at the time, at 27. Also, he had been the primary sparring partner for Vladimir Klitschko, in ahead of Klitschko's decision victory over Mariusz Wach. The thing about step aside money is that I know many people have taken the easy money and stepped aside and let other people fight. That being said, as far as step aside money, they would have to really come with something for me to want to step aside. Let's talk about something in the range of 10 million. Other than that, there will be no stepping aside. That would be the end of that. Well, that was 2014. Here we are, 2020. Okay, and I've talked about this in another channel, YSM Sports. That you're talking about Deontay Wilder now, who has had that WBC championship, has defended that WBC championship multiple times, and now has earned purses of $10 million now, 15 or 20 to $25 million. So a step aside of $10 million right now wouldn't make much sense for Deontay Wilder, even though some people feel that Deontay Wilder should step aside, take a break, have a couple of fights before going up against the likes of a Tyson Fury once again. But Deontay Wilder has too much pride within him, that he doesn't necessarily want to step aside. He didn't step aside in 2014, and he won't really step aside now. Shout out to Fighter IQ on live right now. And like for me, I mean, him having the only loss of his professional career to Tyson Fury, he wants to, I guess, have that revenge. They have the immediate rematch clause, even though some people feel that they shouldn't have that immediate rematch clause. It's like the first thing that first time I guess that the stoppage has happened, and then they turn right around and have a rematch called. But recently, Deontay Wilder did have a conversation with the people at PBC podcast, where he said that he is nursing an injury to his arm, and he's kind of recovery mode for that. He said that he'll be back working in the gym and things like that after the end of this month, and once that happens, then he'll get himself warmed up for the rematch between him and Tyson Fury that's scheduled for October 3rd. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. They have things, I guess, arranged for the rematch to happen in Las Vegas on October 3rd. I did mention that live boxing should start to return in July. So you have July, August, September, October. Well, pretty much 3 full months, or 3 full months, 4 months, be enough time to have a fight of that magnitude, because that second fight, you had, those fighters there at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, and the live gate was about $17.5 million. So you think Bob Arum and Al Heyman wants to, give that up to have like a closed circuit bout between those two? Even if they tried to have it in another country, I still don't think that would produce the live gate that the live gate had for the second fight in Las Vegas. So for me, this whole possibility of having a fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua for the undisputed heavyweight championships is not going to happen. It's not in the cards, and the supposed account, social media account that posted that thing about Deontay Wilder is way off base. Especially when you have Bob Arum basically say, "There's no way that you're gonna have those guys stepping aside to have a fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua for the undisputed heavyweight championship. It's just not gonna happen." Now, so with that being said, you kind of like would want to just go ahead and nix all of that and kind of like move forward to having those fights. Like I said, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, and then you'll have Anthony Joshua against Kubrat Pulev. And then once those fights are out of the way, then we could consider having that undisputed heavyweight title fight, or having the WBC mandatory happen in February or around February, and have the WBO mandatory happen around that same time. That's what they should try to think about. Like, say, for example, the Tyson Fury defeats Deontay Wilder once again, retains that WBC championship. He'll have that mandatory due with the WBC, Dylan White, around February, March. Okay. Anthony Joshua would go ahead and face Kubrat Pulev and defeat Kubrat Pulev for the unified championships. Then we have the WBO mandatory due. So then you just go ahead and have Tyson Fury fight Dylan White. You have Anthony Joshua fight, I think it's going to be Alexander Usyk. Have those mandatories out of the way. And then after that, have the undisputed heavyweight championship fight in the second half of 2021. And just finally have an undisputed heavyweight champion. Have it. The winner is the man, and that's that. And that's the thing about it, is that once you do that and have that over with, then at least you know who would be the number one fighter in the heavyweight division, and there will be no no real doubts about it. So that's kind of like what I kind of wanted to touch on with that particular topic, because during the day, I see this report in reference to Deontay Wilder, and I'm like, come on, man, like y'all got to do better than this with this type of report. And anyone that was sharing that report, I know fans of the sport want to run with the most shocking story that's out there, but we gotta do more research as fans. I know that I cover the sport, but still, fans got to do better. Yeah, I said it. Fans got to do better, because you have the internet at your disposal that tells you basically everything that's going on day by day in the sport of boxing by reliable sources. Now, there was the whole thing about possible talk in reference to a fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, but we know about what the obstacles were going to be in order for that fight to happen. So if many of these fans knew what the obstacles were, then why would they think that there would be any possibility that Deontay Wilder, at the very least, would step aside to have a fight for that undisputed heavyweight championship to happen without him being involved? Just think about that. Deontay Wilder, as powerful as he is, as much as he's had that WBC belt, or as long as he's had that WBC belt, and he loses it after over 5 years, and you don't think that he wants to at least have one shot to get that belt back? Come on, you got to do better than that, So that's the thing that I wanted to touch on in reference to that. And for me, that's going to be a little bit of a a topic for the next few days, and then hopefully it blows over. So that's that's that. Excuse me. Well, yeah, telling you, allergies be kicking, man. But in reference to other things that are going on, I mean, you do have I did like kind of touch on this a little bit on the YouTube channel that Andy Ruiz Jr. Did have um Eddie Reynoso on his team as his main trainer now. And I think that is going to be interesting to see what happens with Andy Ruiz Jr. There. I've heard multiple times that Andy Ruiz Jr. was going to be slated to fight or face um, Chris Arreola. Of course, it was talk about him potentially fighting Dylan White. That was not going to happen. Even immediately after the December 7th fight card over in Saudi Arabia, where you had Dylan White against Mariusz Wach, and you had, of course, Andy Ruiz Jr. in the rematch against Anthony Joshua. That was basically like a 2-fight deal, between Andy Ruiz and his party and Anthony Joshua Matchroom and their party. So after that particular fight, if Andy Ruiz Jr. won the loss, I think it would have been, it for Andy Ruiz in reference to dealing with Matchroom Boxing. So, even though Eddie Hearn kind of like explained or kind of like gave a detailed explanation on why that fight that could have happened between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Dylan White didn't really happen, I just don't think that you would have had something to the point where Andy Ruiz Jr. would have gotten a good enough guarantee for him to fight Dylan White in a setting where he would get a good amount of money and have notoriety for having that particular fight. So I think that Andy Ruiz Jr. and his handlers are going to have him go forward, have that fight with Chris Arreola, and after that, I'll be interested to see if they would have a fight with Andy Ruiz Jr. and Charles Martin. Like I said in the video, Charles Martin did hire the services of Manny Robles. So you would have Andy Ruiz Jr. on one side, Charles Martin on the other side. You'd have Manny Robles there in the middle. Well, basically on the side of Charles Martin. And I would love to see a fight of that, that magnitude happening, because you would have two guys that have been former world champions going up against each other that are hungry to try to get another shot at a world championship. To me, that's the type of fight that I would like to see there is, fights against, with guys that have been at the top or basically around the top that have lost and, went down. And so they're going to try to see what level they're at right now. So let me see here. I think I got the guy that I wanted to add on here, man. Hey, it's Hardcore Boxing News, man. What's going on with you?
What's up with you, fella?
Oh man, I've been good, brother. Been good. Just trying to soak things in here at the moment. This whole little COVID thing has got people going crazy. So I'm just, trying to stay sane for the time being.
I know what you mean, man. It definitely slowed me down. But you know what? I really appreciate it, to be honest. I'm saving money. I'm spending time with the family, and I'm getting a little bit of stuff done.
Yeah. For me, like I had actually acquired something where I have to go out and go to work, but at the time that I was at home, I was able to get a lot of stuff done, get focused on this particular channel, or try to build other businesses and things like that. So I think having that time by yourself or whatever it is has you focusing and kind of like have a moment of clarity, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I totally understand that. I actually laid myself off, man. I'm self-employed, but I also work for a company as well. And I was like, you know what? this ain't worth my health. You know what I mean? With this COVID-19, they were saying that Black people with underlying ailments and older are the ones that are having the issues. You know what I mean? So I hit all three. I hit all 3 points. I mean, I'm not that old. I'm number 51, but I got diabetes and high blood pressure, and I'm Black. You know what I mean? And I work for Mercedes-Benz as well. And you're around a lot of people. And I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna come home and just wait till this stuff blow over. You know what I mean? It ain't always about the money. You know what I mean? And I just decided to come home, man.
I feel you. I feel you. Now, with the thing about having underlying conditions that makes people the most vulnerable, and when in my case, when it comes to this particular time period in general, it's like allergy season. So it's like you have the instance where you got people worried about what's happening with COVID-19 or whatever it is, and then also allergy season. So the thing with allergy season is a lot of the symptoms for that are similar to what they say for COVID-19 or whatever it is. So that kind of like makes people, wary about what's, going on right now, and have them like in a little bit of a, state of uncertainty. Because if they have like the regular symptoms of like allergies or something like that, then they could confuse it with having symptoms of COVID-19 or whatnot. So that's something where people have to be careful about. I did like kind of run through a few these topics here. I did talk about like the lightweight division. The thing with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua potentially having a fight for the undisputed championship. And with the thing with Fury and Joshua, I kind of like laid it out earlier today. There was some social media account that put out that according to MTK Global or something like that, that Deontay Wilder will basically agree to take step aside money for a fight with for a fight of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua to happen for the undisputed championship. And I'm like, no. No. Because if anything, with the pride that Deontay Wilder has, he's going to want to have that rematch with Tyson Fury first and foremost. That's number one. Number two, you're talking about Deontay Wilder that refused to take step aside money if they wanted to have a fight between Vladimir Klitschko and Bermane Stiverne back in 2014. So if he wouldn't take $10 million back in 2014, what makes anyone think that he would take any type of step aside money right now for a fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua to happen?
You know what? I was in another chat not too long ago, and that was brought up in the chat, and we looked at the link, and I was like, when I seen the source of it, I was like, okay, but then when you actually read it, it never says that Deontay Wilder agreed to anything like that. It's just someone's opinion, and from an unreliable source as well. And we were talking about it. Matter of fact, I was talking to Mike on Sports and also Ron G from Fight Hype, and we were all talking about it. And me personally, if it was me, you can give me 10 million to watch a fight. You know what I mean? But I said the same exact thing that you said. Wilder is too prideful to take a $10 million step aside money. It makes more sense. And the reason why I say that is because to get 10 million to watch them fight, let them alleviate each other, all the belts will be in one place. So whoever fights and wins the next fight automatically is the undisputed champion. You know what I mean? So to take that 10 million, me personally as a businessman, I take that 10 million to do nothing. You're gonna get some backlash from people saying
oh, he's soft, he this, that, other, this, that. But when it all boils down, and how COVID-19 just showed us how uncertain life is these days, I take that million and laugh to the bank. But
So,
Wilder is definitely he's a soldier. I doubt if he would take it. He's a prideful man. He wants to beat Fury straight up and down and prove that he is still that guy. So I don't see him taking that whatsoever.
well, yeah, there's that in the reasons that you did state, but also here's the problem with taking a step aside money at this particular juncture. They were going to have the Fury Wilder fight scheduled for October 3rd. Okay. Now, if Wilder went ahead and took the step aside money and they went ahead with the undisputed heavyweight title fight that would happen either October or November, then the problem is the winner would have to face
White.
the mandatories, right?
That is
So,
correct.
first of all, you have the IBF mandatory right now that would also have to take step aside money in Kubrat Pulev.
Mm-hmm.
Then, after that, you have two more mandatories as the WBO mandatory is there with Alexander Usyk and the WBC mandatory that's there with Dylan White. So if Deontay Wilder took the step aside money, then he wouldn't really have a chance to fight the winner of Fury Joshua until all of those other mandatories are, honored.
Unless
So
they
it's like,
would take step aside money too.
yeah, but they're not gonna do that. And
Nah.
the thing with the IBF too, like I've hardly ever seen in any case where the IBF mandatory steps aside in any case, like whether it's a heavyweight or even in like middleweight, because in the middleweight instance, the IBF title has been stripped twice from the IBF champion for them not facing mandatory. So when it comes to IBF, they really don't play when it comes to mandatory defenses and things like that. So, for me, Deontay Wilder, I think he's going to go ahead and go forward with it. The only instance where he may not be able to make it is if the injury that he had to his arm is, more serious than he thought. But even with that, they would just prolong or delay the fight between Wilder and Fury. I just don't see him stepping aside. It wouldn't make much sense to me there.
Yeah, I think it's just more news than anything, man. Clickbait, whatever you want to call it. It's just more just because right now people just making up news right now to keep boxing going. You know what I mean? So, and we see a lot of that going on right now. So, it is what it is.
Yep. And other thing that I was talking about earlier is like the lightweight division. That is like one of the hottest divisions in the sport. I went through the top guys there: the unified champion Vasily Lomachenko, IBF champion Teofimo Lopez. You have Devin Haney there around the WBC. Ryan Garcia was up and coming. And at the time they were trying to have the fight set up or built between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. And Ryan Garcia was scheduled to fight Jorge Linares in July, but it seems like that's not going to happen. So Devin Haney on Twitter, I think, said, "Hey, Jorge Linares, if Ryan Garcia don't want to fight you, then why don't you go ahead and fight me?" But I'm not sure if Golden Boy Promotions is going to give that okay, though. Because I think that they're trying to set up Linares to be, a guy that Ryan Garcia has in order to build Garcia's momentum.
You know what, man? This is no fun, bro, because we be agreeing on too much shit, man. I'm going to be honest. We got to talk about some shit we disagree on, man. Because I'm sitting here thinking the same thing. I mean, when you got cash cows, man, you're not just going to sacrifice them for no reason, no apparent reason, And I can't see Golden Boy doing that right now because they can make so much money with Ryan right now. Just moving him around the board right now and allowing him to collect, $200 as he go. For them to go ahead and put him up against Devin Haney right now will be stupid.
Yep.
He's not ready. You know what I mean? And I like the move that they made to take him to Canelo's people. I like that move. You know what I mean?
Eddie Reynoso now. Yeah, he's part of the Canelo team, as they call it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was an excellent move. And I've seen a big difference in his fighting since he done moved over to that team. And that team is going to make sure they move him correctly as well. Trust me, it's all hype, to be honest, man. Those boys ain't going to fight until that pot matures. And that's the same thing with Tank and anybody else that's going to really make some money. Those pots got to mature first for it to happen. They're going to allow them boys to keep going around go until they actually make a lot of money. When they actually done made a lot of noise, they done knocked out a lot of people, and they the last men standing. Then and only then, we've been around boxing too long. We know how the game is played. And they are not going to put their people up against each other. Now, they're going to talk about it because it makes good news. And you want to stay relevant in that talk. But, nothing's changed in the boxing game. The boxing game stays the same. Yeah. And if you look at Mayweather and Pacquiao, it don't happen until it has procured, man. And we know that.
Yep. Now, interesting that you did mention Tank because, both of us are, in around the area where Tank is. And they have been planning him to have his pay-per-view, event and things like that against Leo Santa Cruz. And, while his last fight against Yuriorkis Gamboa was at 135, they're going to have this fight between him and Leo Santa Cruz at 130 pounds. So I'm like, are they really going to have Tank Davis there at 130 pounds against Leo Santa Cruz? And I'm not sure about it. I just don't know if Tank can make it. How about you?
I told you, man, I'm tired of agreeing with your ass, man. But I was saying the same thing, man, because, one thing I can say about Coach Calvin, he keep his guys working. But when you got a millionaire kid, because he's 22, 23 years old?
Yeah, 22, 23.
Yeah. He hasn't even learned how to live his life yet with all that type of money. He's a kid from the hood, and he has to learn how to discipline himself and everything. I love Tank, man. I ain't gonna lie. I feel though we haven't even had a chance to see the talent that boy can actually let go, because the boy can fight. He can truly fight, and he got that old school meanness about him that you miss from out of boxing. When he ready to fight somebody, he mad at him. He want to whip their ass, and that's what I like about Tank. The only thing that scares me about him is him being disciplined. I'm gonna tell you, he get everything aligned, he can go a long damn way. He has the power. He know how to box. He has the charisma. Everybody loves him. He sells out arenas. He has it all. But all he has to do is get discipline. To make 130, that's gonna be tough. You know what I mean? But the way I look at it, if the money's right, it can happen. But I just hope he don't drain himself where it's going to look like his last fight, because it doesn't have to look like that. Tank can make fights easy if he can get the weight right, but that's the big if right there, man. I mean, that kid has a lot of talent, and to be so young, you know, we know they don't get their man strength until they 28, 29 years old. That's when they are at their peak. You know what I mean? So if he could just live a Spartan's life, which a lot of boxers don't do anymore, man. If they can live that Spartan life, that Mayweather's life, where, you know, it's about training, it ain't no drinking, it ain't no smoking. Not to say that he does those things, because I ain't never seen him do any of those things. But what I'm saying is, and push away from that table until they can do all those things and say, listen here, you paying me millions and millions of dollars to fight for 36 minutes. Why can't I come in there and come correct? And then it's easier for me to say it because shit, I'm on the couch, and I ain't got millions of dollars. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, you know, so you know, I can't just get on them that hard. But that's the sport that they decided to be. Live that Spartan life, and after you finish, live whatever the way you want. That's up to you. But for right now, be all you can be. That's what I would love for these fighters these days to do.
Well, I got someone that disagrees on Tank Davis making 130 pounds. That is my brother from YSM Sports Media. Brother Jamil, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's good, man?
Yo, chilling, man. We got Hardcore Boxing News on with us here. We got Boxing Source, Hardcore Boxing News, and
I'm
YSM
not
Media.
hearing them, though. I'm not hearing them.
Oh, you're not hearing them?
No,
you can't hear me?
Them.
Damn, like I don't know what's been going on with this.
Yo, it happened last night,
man.
All right, I'm gonna come back out and come in, okay?
All right, yeah.
All
right. Jamil said that he's gonna back out and back in.
Back in.
I'm gonna test someone else here. Let me see something. Got Unrivaled here. Check in, Unrivaled. What's good?
What's good? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So we hear you. That's weird, man. I don't know what's going on with Jamil. He's been having issues on this joint, man. So Unrivaled, we got Hardcore Boxing News here with us. We're talking about currently talking about this thing with Gervonta Tank Davis, if he's gonna make 130 pounds for his scheduled fight or planned fight that he'll have against Leo Santa Cruz, as that'll be slated for a Showtime pay-per-view. But Hardcore Boxing News feels that as long as Tank Davis is disciplined enough, he'll be able to make 130 and be able to perform well against Leo Santa Cruz. What do you think?
He's definitely going to need to train very, very hard. He struggled making scale at 135 for Gamboa. So obviously he wasn't disciplined enough. At 130, he was already having trouble making weight. He actually missed multiple times in world title fights. And the more he's ballooned up and stayed lack of discipline, it's going to be harder for him to actually make weight. He could be successful in the fight with Leo at whatever weight. He definitely needs to remain very, 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 very disciplined, because I don't think he can actually make the weight very healthily anymore. Just because he's ate his weight so far out of the weight division through lack of discipline for a number of years now. It's not like Tank's new on the scene. 3 years ago he won a world title at 130. It's over 3 years ago now, when he was a younger guy, when he was only 22. And it's easier to make certain weights at that time in your life. Now he's 25. He's not a kid anymore. His man strength is fully coming into him. So his body, his testosterone levels have changed. It's going to be a much more difficult process for Tank to make the weight comfortably. I'd say it'll be a struggle, and I think it would be an advantage for anybody who fights him at 130 just because of his lack of discipline over the last 4 years.
Gotcha. All right. We're going to try this here once again with YSM Sports Media there. Check in.
What's good, y'all? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right.
He ain't making 130. Like, how you move up in weight and still don't make the weight? Like, that's got to be a record. That's probably never happened in boxing. Like, I'm going to move up in class. I'm outgrowing that class, and I don't even make the class that I moved up in. He's a very talented kid, right? Very talented, very explosive, and he has bad intentions every time he gets in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But he's his own worst enemy, and it's not just with just the preparation in the ring. Just outside the ring, like outside the gym, it's always something. Like it's so much turmoil and that's going on in his life that I just can't see him ever getting disciplined in the gym if you can't be disciplined in life.
Yeah, and the thing with Tank, like we've had like a couple of instances where he's gotten in trouble over near his area or around his area, whether it's over in Baltimore or down in what I'd say was that Falls Church, Virginia, or something like that. And so I kind of like said at that time he needs to get away from that area for a little bit.
Man, he got booked in
that's
Cali too, man.
Yeah,
he
that's the thing.
Cali too.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the problem. So it's like he just finds a way to get himself in trouble, and it's just an overall bad look, man. And I'm like, come on, man, you gotta find a way to like stay out of trouble because they're trying to build you up as the next superstar right now. Like when you have Leonard Ellaby behind you and he's going to have Steven Espinoza basically co-sign you, they're trying to make you be the next Floyd Mayweather type guy. So you can't be all in this type of stuff and not get the, overall rewards yet. He hasn't really been paid yet.
I'm going to disagree with you though. The most important, the only thing that's more lucrative than being famous is being infamous. If he wants to continue with this path, then you got to go the role of the bad guy. The bad guy gets in the shit, but people pay to see the bad guy. People pay big to see.
Yeah, they pay to see you lose.
Yes, so he needs to decide which path he wants to go. Now, he don't gotta get into the stuff that's going to get him booked, but talk shit in interviews. You know what I mean? Call people out. Just be an overall douche.
Yeah.
And based off of what he's already done, the trouble that he's got into, it will build that image. He can make himself into the Mike Tyson, the new Mike Tyson, because that's how people see him. Like as far as stylistically,
I don't know where that came from.
What the Mike Tyson?
The stylistic comparison, because they fight nothing alike.
Oh, as far as what body type, speed, and explosiveness is very similar.
I mean, as in bob and weave, Tank doesn't do it. Footwork's completely different.
No.
Working off the jab is different. The hook on the inside is different. They are completely different styles of fighters.
He's not a peekaboo fighter, but we're talking. But I'm more so speaking of
aggressiveness.
Aggressiveness is style, as in.
And he's too.
He's more stylistically, aggressively, and everything comparable, in all honesty, to Shannon Briggs, if we're being honest.
No.
You must be from the UK.
No.
Why is that?
I don't know. That just sounds like somebody from the UK would say that, bro. Where are you from, bro?
Well, I'm from Ireland, so I'm not actually from the UK.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the UK, so yeah, it's not.
I could talk about other fighters that he could be comparable to if you want me to.
No, he reminds a lot of people. He reminds a lot of people of Tyson, bro. I'm talking about just power, speed, explosiveness,
meanness,
his body type, his intentions. I'm not talking about just necessarily the peekaboo style. The peekaboo style, that's more of a old school. You have to be like bred into that. Like your trainer has to specialize in the peekaboo style. So that's not really what I was speaking on.
So we're talking about he's aggressive.
He's nasty, man. His
he's
his
nasty,
overall
but
demeanor
to me,
is Tyson-like.
I don't
With the
know.
physical
I
attributes.
didn't see that demeanor in his last fight. Did you?
Yeah,
I didn't.
that's because of weight strip,
He
man. The brother,
But
I mean,
but
yeah,
but
go
but
ahead.
here's
He
my
missed
thing. Here's my
weight.
thing with Tank. Here's my thing with Tank. There's times and a lot of times where he's very inactive in the ring, where he doesn't like throw that many punches at all. He'll just throw one or two punches at a
Because he's
time.
not in shape.
Nothing. Well, there's a lot of times where he's not in shape, so that goes into why YSM's thing where he says he's not gonna make 130.
Nobody believes he's gonna make
Well, none
130.
of us believe he's going to make 130. We want
Yeah,
him to make
man. Like
130. We want him to make 130. I want
Are
him
we
to make
taking bets?
130 easily so we can see the best Tank. That's
We can
what
take
I'm
bets that
saying.
he's gonna make 140.
Yo, hey, Jay, the CEO, man. Yo, it's been a minute, man. Hey, good to see you on this joint, man. Hey, but yeah, I don't know if he's gonna make if he's gonna make 130, man. But yo, when you have Showtime and they're gonna be putting in, they're gonna be putting in money for Tank in this instance, and they've kind of built and set it up for him to fight Leo Santa Cruz because they haven't said anything in reference to Santa Cruz fighting anybody else, and they haven't really put Santa Cruz against anybody else other than Abner Mares, and then you had the Carl Frampton 2 fights with Carl Frampton. They never had a third fight, so it's like I guess they're trying to serve up Leo Santa Cruz for Tank Davis.
Well, you know what?
Why do y'all say serve up though?
Ooh, why not?
That's gonna be a good fight.
Ooh.
Can I say why people say serve up?
Go ahead.
Because Tank's up at 135 now. He's gone back down to 130 for this fight. Leo Santa Cruz, he's had to move up to 130 to fight this. Serving up a guy who's now past his prime in Leo. He actually has gone past his prime, and he's way outside of his prime weight division because originally he's a bantamweight.
He's already fought at 130 though.
He's had one fight at 130.
Yeah, so that's not really moving up, particularly for this fight. But go ahead.
No, I'm talking about he moved up into that division for that fight. That's the reason why. They wanted him to get a world title, and that's the reason why for that fight. It wasn't they didn't move him up there so that he could fight his last opponent. That's not the fucking goal. The goal was to get the Tank fight. He's moved up in search of the Tank fight. Originally, he's a bantamweight. That's up to 122, 126, up to 130. He's in his fourth weight division. Tank would be in his origin division. When people talk about him serving them up, Leo's been on the decline. He hasn't been fighting people. He's gotten a bit slower. He's been going down. This isn't to diminish anything from Tank, by the way. This is just what people have been paying attention to with Leo. He hasn't had a tough fight since Frampton. He hasn't.
Yeah.
Right. And Frampton was more size comparable because even when he was fighting with Abner, what was it, 126 with Abner? Abner's also originally a bantam. Carl's originally a super bantam. Leo's been fighting guys who are bantams and super bantams pretty much the majority of his career. He'd be fighting in pure size stature, the largest guy of his entire career. Not in terms of height, but build. You know the way Sean Porter, he's small, but he's like massive? That's what it's like when you go in there with Tank. That's kind of like what it is in terms of comparison. Like Tank will rehydrate and probably weigh 16, 17 pounds more than Leo.
You know what? This has been in the makings for a minute. I remember interviewing Gary Russell about a year and a half ago, and Gary Russell said, Antoine Russell told me, he said that the next fight will be Tank and Leo Santa Cruz. He said the exact thing that happened. He said it verbatim. That they're moving up Santa Cruz. Tank's going to another division. Then he's going to come back down and do this fight. But Tank even said it a while ago. So this has been in the makings for a minute. I mean, the blueprint was already set, and this was going to happen regardless. But I'm going to jump out there just one time, and I do it on your show once in a while.
Yeah.
Tank is going to make 130. He's going to make it on the first try. I'm going to let y'all know that right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm stepping out on the plank again. Just like I did back in the day when I said that Wichicon would be which fight was that? When Matisse, I told you that Matisse would beat what was the kid?
Garcia was Matisse?
When who was it?
You talking about way back when in the Mayweather Canelo thing where you said Garcia would beat Matisse?
No, it wasn't Garcia. It was we knew I just knew Garcia was gonna beat Matisse. I'm talking about the tall kid, the European kid that was a European.
Postol?
No, I
Wait, who are you talking about? Who fought?
He fought Matisse, and he took the belt from Matisse. Danny didn't want to fight him. He fought.
That's Postol.
I didn't say Postol.
Yeah. Victor Postol.
Yeah, Victor Postol. I came on your show and said that Victor Postol was going to win that fight, and y'all laughed me off that day. And I'm gonna tell you, Tank gonna come back on this one, and he's gonna make the weight without a problem. I guarantee it.
All right. Now, can I get back to Unrivaled? Okay, so you like all the reasons that you gave is valid, but I want you to look at it in a different way, right? So
why do you want me to look at it from a different way? Why can't I look at it from my own way?
Wait,
I'm not asking you to look at it from a different way, but go ahead.
You done, bro? All right, so Tank, Leo's moving up to 130, right? And Tank's moving down after missing weight at 135, right? So
yes.
Tank's undisciplined and will likely be drained because of this.
Okay.
Because he doesn't take the in between training seriously. And then you add the fact that Leo is the taller man and the longer man and the busier man. That's why I feel like this is going to be a better fight, because Tank, like you said in the last fight, he isn't as active because he's not in shape. Leo's always been busy. I feel like Leo will be able to control distance till about round 7 before Tank starts hitting with some shit. So I'm going to have Tank down on the cards probably like 4 rounds to 2. So I think it's going to be competitive. I just don't see Leo winning.
Tank knocks them out.
Now, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to say this. The question was why people are saying serving him up.
Yeah.
Not what I think the outcome of the fight is going to be or anything to do with Tank's situation. I was explaining why people are calling it a serve up fight.
Yeah,
that's why people are, because they're looking at it from that point of view.
I feel like people. Tank's never beat anybody anything close to Leo. I don't think Tank. I'm sorry. I just don't think Tank is as good as people will make him out to be. For them to just write this off as just a feeding frenzy. Like,
I feel you on that instance. Because, like I've said, with Tank Davis, there's multiple times where he just shows that he's very inactive. And in the particular fight that he had against Yuriorkis Gamboa, this is a Yuriorkis Gamboa that suffered a leg injury at the 3rd round. And even with that, Gamboa was still able to get off on Tank Davis a few times there. So you have that, and then put that Tank Davis against a guy, Leo Santa Cruz, that's always been active with his hands. But my thing is, if Tank just stands there and hits him with the hook, I don't know man. I don't know if Leo ready for that.
There's another reason a lot of people think, and this is just a small one, whether you believe it or not. The fight's going to take place at 130, right? Yeah. Tank don't give a shit about Leo's title. He already held it. That's the title he let go vacant, right? That's the title that he vacated. That title means jack shit to Tank. There's a very good chance the Tank could come in way over the weight limit. And the belt won't be up for grabs. There is an opportunity of that he won't drain himself, and Leo would have already done the camp and still taken it because it's the biggest money payday he can get. Because he's not going to pull out after doing a full camp on one day's notice unless there's something on the line riding for him. And that's where things could get going. That's something that can legitimately happen.
I can't even argue with that because I can see that happening.
Because I mean, like you said there, rival or Mark. He's already held that title, and he could be like, you know what, man, what do I need this title for? What do I need to pay that money for? How much money do I have to pay in order to, basically be overweight? It's how much? You know what? I'm gonna come in at 135. Who cares? Just come in at 135, and then they have the fight. I'll be like, yeah, he really does not have to have that type of motivation to actually make 130. Because, like you said, you don't really need that title. And me thinking about it, I'm like, okay, he has his fight against Leo Santa Cruz, and then he beats Leo Santa Cruz. Then what? Like, what's out there? What's next for him? Especially at 130. What is out there for him at 130 pounds for Tank? Really, not much at all. So, because I know that he ain't gonna have that fight with Gary Jr. He's not gonna have that.
He gonna fight a couple turnips and then end up fighting Ryan. That's a fight that I can see happening.
I think the Russell fight is actually kind of possible, but let me explain what.
No.
Gary's been talking. No, hold on. Gary's been talking about going up to 135. I think Tank is the biggest money payday for him, and I think he's looking at. Gary's kind of a little bit out the door. He has been fighting only once a year. He's voiced his frustrations with the PBC. He's been voicing a lot of different concerns about a lot of different things, not getting different fights. I can see him going up there to cash out on Tank because that's a big payday. That's a big fight.
Yeah, but Mayweather's not going to let it happen, though.
I don't know. I think Mayweather might fancy Tank at 135 over 5'3" Gary Russell.
One thing about them veterans like that, man, they know how to win, bro. And that's a risk right there that I don't think they would take. Mayweather and them are very calculated, man, and that's not the move I could see them making.
Well, a lot's been made of Tank's is gas tank in his last fight, right? But a lot of people haven't paid attention to something that happened with Gary. Gary started to fade against Tugstop, man. And Tugstop ain't big. Tugstop was actually a flyweight in the amateurs. He's long, he's tall, but he's got a skinny ass frame on him. This is Niambiar in his last fight. Tugstop Niambiar. He started to fade there, and Tug started to win some rounds towards the end of the fight. For the first few rounds, he looked good. But if you have a guy who hits way harder than Tug, which Tank hits way harder than Tug, and Gary has been fading, and he hasn't been fighting tough opposition, that would be the perfect opportunity. And would be Gary Russell coming up 2 weight divisions, slowing down because of the extra weight, and not being relatively active. I'm just saying, they'd be looking at that as the perfect opportunity to get a big name on the resume, or 2 big names with Leo and Gary.
It sounds good.
Do you think Floyd would chance it though?
I just don't see them taking that chance.
Yeah,
I think it's a possibility. I think it's a possibility. I just think it's because Leonard mentioned it. Leonard said that.
Gary's not a big money maker. I mean, here's
the thing. I mean, I've talked with Gary. Like I said, I talked with him a few weeks ago, and I said that y'all could make a fight. See if y'all can make that fight, and it would be in what is that, the Verizon Center or whatever it is, and you'd have Baltimore and DC or Capitol Heights all up in there, but with the thing with Gary Jr., and you brought up that fight that he had in February against Suksat Niambiar. My question is this: who do you think hits harder, Niambiar or Jojo Diaz?
In all honesty, I think the Jojo hits harder.
Yeah. So with that, in that particular fight, like Gary Russell was able to deal with the body shots that Jojo Diaz had in the early rounds of that fight, and was able to make those adjustments to basically have a clear decision over Jojo Diaz at that particular point.
Yeah, which further proves capitulation lately in his performances and his energy tank, because with a fighter who hits weaker than Jojo Diaz, he was fading later on in the fight, where he wasn't with Jojo.
Well, I mean, for me, I just think that I'll have to, go and make a trip over to the gym that he's at and, see where, he is at this particular point, because Gary Sr. Told me that they were going to make that move to 135 before I spoke with Gary Jr. on the podcast. So yeah, they're all full steam ahead as far as like that is concerned.
I can see
for
the
Gary
Haney.
Jr.
I
to
can
go
see
in.
Haney Russell fight before I can see Tank Russell fight.
Yeah, and Haney is called Russell out, and Russell said, you know what, he's ready. He's like, anybody can get it. So
But what is Gary's position with PBC? Are they going to let Gary go over to the zone?
Gary's a free agent.
I wouldn't hold him back.
Gary's a free agent. He said he's a free agent. So he said that he does have a relationship with Heyman and PBC, but he's a free agent. So right now at this particular point, if he wants to go ahead and move up to 135, if he feels like the better fights are there at 135, he could do that and land at any pretty much with any organization that he wants to. It's just that the fights that he's been trying to get at 126, he's never been able to get. And he says, like, at 130, there's no fights for him at 130, like none. Because he just doesn't see a fight between him and a Burchell. He doesn't see a fight between him and Herring or a rematch with Diaz. He doesn't, he won't consider that. And, only thing that he sees at 126 is Shakur Stevenson. Because he feels like Shakur Stevenson's the only one that, would fancy having a fight with him. Nobody else.
And that's a 50,
so it's like,
and that's a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, and they have sparred a few times here in this area. So if he feels like 135 is the best move, then that's what he's going to go ahead and do. I did go through the whole thing with Fury, Wilder, and Joshua. But one thing I did want to bring up is with live boxing kind of seeing if they're going to try to make a comeback, at least here in the States in July, that would mean that, most things as far as, boxing events are going to, come up pretty soon. I did kind of bring up the idea of if they're going to do this thing with closed circuit, why not have like guys that are a little bit lower tier? Like they don't have to be world champions. They could be, regional champions or Continental America's champions or, somebody that doesn't have that much pro experience. At least put them out there so that at least they get some shine. Because when it comes to, like regular telecasts, when you have fights like like when they had Plant versus Feigenbutz on Fox or Charlo Harrison 2 or, Garcia versus Redcatch or something like that. Yeah, you're going to have 2 or 3 fights that are on TV, but what about the other 4 or 5 fights that are not on TV? You have those fighters that are there. So if you're not going to put the guys that are at the top level on yet, why not have those that were, in the lower tier that you didn't necessarily feature on TV yet? Here's your opportunity to feature them on TV so that, eyes will be able to, see them.
That's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea. Definitely, because from what I'm hearing in the USA, the first fight that they're talking about, the heaviest taking place, this is with ESPN, is Rivera versus Shakur, June 9th. Mike Coppinger reported on that earlier. I think it was about 3 hours ago we reported on that roughly.
They better be back at Madison Square Garden, and they better allow media to be at that particular event so I can get back in there, man. Like, come on.
It's actually being finalized for Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, yeah, because the thing with that is, I had I had Steven Nelson on, and we kind of like hinted at things as far as like return goes, and for Top Rank, they're kind of working out something to where fighters would go over to Las Vegas for a couple of weeks, and then the week of the fight, they'll be, preparing for the fight and everything, and they have a closed circuit fight there in Las Vegas, and then after that, they, fly back home or whatever it is. So they were going to be doing a good amount of fights that way, have it over in Las Vegas, and then after that, once more things start to open up, then they'll branch out. So. But that Stevenson fight, man, I just can't believe it, man. I was there, Madison Square Garden. They were about to have the fight. I leave New York to come back. and then they cancel it. I was like, man, come on, man.
Well, JR, I'm happy for you because you didn't have to sit through in person that fight. Because truth be told, I like Shakur.
Yeah.
1, Mariaga is shot. 2, he's always been boring. And 3, Shakur ain't the most exciting fighter either. It's not going to be pretty to watch. It was going to be something that you were just going to be like, come on, man, I'm out there traveling 80 miles for this bitch. What am I doing here?
Yeah, but I was trying to, get some other, connections on through that. So I mean, they had at the very least they had Terrence Crawford out there. You probably would have had, Andre Ward and all them there later on down the line. So it would have probably, I probably would have been able to get more connections that way. But yeah, other than that, yeah, there wasn't really much of a, card to, be all amped up about, So that was that's the thing on that, man. But as far as like overall fights, within the next, let's say, by October or November, what fights would you most likely want to see that are kind of like scheduled, but have been postponed or
Ubali versus Daenerys.
Oh yeah, that was supposed to be April 26th. Yeah, around April 25th.
That was meant to be May 19th. That was meant to be May 19th. Okay. April 26th or April 25th. April 25th was a Inoue Casimero in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Inoue Casimero.
But that fight hasn't been postponed. That fight has been cancelled because Casimero's next opponent is going to be Joshua Greer, the Chicago kid.
Yeah, Josh Greer Jr. Yeah. So you had that. They would have had over here in this area the fight between Regis Prograis and Maurice Hooker. Now that card that they had scheduled for the MGM National Harbor, oh man, like they would have had Javier Fortuna and Luke Campbell on there, but I think they were going to scrap that overall.
Hergovich was going to fight Jerry Forrest. Cecilia Brækhus was going to fight against McCaskill, I think.
McCaskill, yes. That was one.
That card was fire, bro. That was a fire card.
Yeah,
I would have loved that, man. I'm 45, an hour away. I would have loved that.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, that one I would have been like, yo, front and center. I don't care, man. I would have been in for Brækhus McCaskill, like McCaskill's last fight over in that arena against I think it was Anahi Sanchez. That was like the fight of the night for that particular card. That was the fight of the night. So I was like really looking forward to that particular fight card. So
let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100. McCaskill's always in enjoyable fights, whether she wins dominantly or they're competitive. That girl comes to fight.
Yeah,
she's someone who can really get fans interested in women's boxing. She's really she's entertaining. She's quick. She comes to go to war. She's got some skills on her too. Her inside game is stunning. It really is.
Yeah. Yep. So you had that card. They were setting up the thing for Katie Taylor and Serrano. I think they were going to have that over across the pond though.
That was going to be the co-main event to Dillian Whyte and Alexander Povetkin. I actually had media credentials for that fight. I was going to go and cover that shit. And then I got ripped up. I also got fucked out of Avanesian, and I was pre-approved for media credentials for Chisora versus Usyk, which I was really excited for.
Ooh, yeah, that would have been good too. Yeah, that's another good one. One other fight that I was looking forward to is Joe Joyce versus Daniel Dubois.
Yes, man, I wanted to see that one. I wanted to see that.
Like I said that particular fight is a fight where you actually have two guys that are ready to make that next step, and they're equal as far as like their overall pro experience and what they can do when the ring is concerned. And the winner of that would be able to be, around or near that second tier of heavyweight fighters. So
they'd be at the top of that second tier.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I would say because I mean
they'd be like the number 10 or 11.
Joe Joyce has already faced guys that have had lots of experience in the heavyweight division in Ramon Severn and Brian Jennings. So,
admittedly,
you have him.
way past it.
they're
Past
way
it,
past
Severn.
it. Yeah, way past it. But I mean, at least
Jennings was
he
still
fought.
competitive though, because
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Jennings gave not only to give Joyce a good fight, even though he got stopped against Rivas, he was giving Rivas hell, and Rivas actually gave Dillian White a tough fight. So you could kind of see Jennings is still in that top 15 bracket.
Yeah. Yep. So
Yeah, I had the boys winning that fight if he fights Joyce. Though.
Joe Joyce. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the boys beats him.
Yeah.
I do too. I
favor
do
it.
too. But my question's on the gas tank. It's on the gas tank.
Mhm.
And if Joyce can get him into those late championship rounds, he could swarm him. And looking at the betting odds in the
overwhelm
UK
him.
anyway, I think it's hilarious that, like, group round betting's like 7 through 9, 9 through 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
10 through 12. Joyce is actually, he was 9-1 from round 7 through 9 to stop Dubois, and he was 11-1 from rounds 10 through 12. And I think for group round bettings like that, you've got 3 rounds. That's crazy. Those type of odds on a fighter like Joyce in a fighter against Dubois, who is, to be honest, largely unproven.
But you know what? With that particular fight, when it's 50-50 like that, what I normally do is start looking down into the amateurs. And whoever has the better amateur pedigree, I normally go with when it's a 50-50 fight. And being as though that Joyce came along late, that's another reason why I feel, though, that Dubois beats him.
He may have come along late, but in the program, he's fought better opposition. And in the amateurs, he has way more experience.
Yeah.
Way more. He's an Olympic silver medalist who's been around, fought in the World Series of Boxing. He's been in there with Hrgovic. He's been in there with Usyk. He's been in there with Tony Oka.
Yep. Yeah, he's been there with all those guys. Yo, shout out to El Jefe there, man. Salute to you, man. Yeah, that's why I'm like, this particular fight is just, it's like, man, like I do, favor Dubois at this particular point, but if Joyce wins, I wouldn't be surprised. I would just hope that he would say, silly fans, Dubois cannot harm me. Don't you know who the fuck I am? I'm the juggernaut. Nah, man, he won't do that.
I know that you'd love to see that, but Joyce doesn't know how to say more than 2 words.
Yeah, he don't have
Joyce not mean enough for me. He's just not mean enough for me, man.
Yeah. He doesn't have enough for that.
He's a gentleman, man,
some could say he's a gentleman, but some could, say he's more plainer than white bread with no butter in it,
I get that, but look, I'll say one thing. Go watch his fight with Lenroy Thomas, because people with Joyce isn't the bad guy or anything, bro.
Yeah.
He went in there and bludgeoned dude, man.
I know. Yeah, I know guys that are like, real close to Lenroy. And they were like, ooh, they really couldn't.
That was hard to watch, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if this person could get on checking in. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah. Well, I thought that he would be able to join in, man, but looks like he's, not quite in there. So, I was looking forward to that particular fight. Just trying to see what else is out there that's like, I would say under the radar, so to speak, but in a way, Casemiro's out.
Could I give a fight that really was flying under the radar, even though it was signed, right? This is a fight very few people were talking about. I was looking forward to because both guys can fight, and they've got contrasting styles. Jamal James and Thomas Delorme was gonna be a good fight.
That would be real interesting, man. Like Delorme is always in a good fight. Yeah, Delorme is always been a good fight.
He got robbed against Jesse Vargas, bro.
Yeah, he did.
It seems like he's getting better, to be honest.
Yeah, it does look like he is getting better, with time. So him against Jamal James, that would have been a good, very interesting matchup there. In that particular going on with them.
I like him because he don't say no. He'll fight anybody, man.
He'll fight anybody. I was gonna see if there was like anything else out there before I might try to rehash the topic that I had on the podcast on Sunday.
I want to see Charlo fight somebody, man. I just need Big Charlo.
Jamal Charlo, yeah.
Yeah,
because Jamel been fighting people. Jamel been fighting.
I need. Well, I think Jamal wants to fight someone, but
I think that they're trying to initially have him set up to fight Chris Eubank.
Yeah.
For the time being,
it looked like they was building that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were building that.
I'm okay with that.
Chris Eubank. I don't know if he's going to be with him full time, but you saw like little videos with Chris Eubank and Roy Jones.
Roy Jones, yeah.
Did
you see that rooster shit he was doing? He was doing that rooster shit.
I didn't see that. Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, what you talking about when he was going forward and backwards?
Yeah, they put music to that, man. It looked like he was doing a Ukrainian Drake. It looked like he was doing a Ukrainian dance, bro. That was funny.
Yeah.
No, Roy Jones was dancing, man.
Right, that's what I seen.
He was like, he was killing it. Yo, yeah, that was.
Then when
funny,
he took
man.
it backwards, I was like, damn.
Yeah, I was like, oh man. Yeah. I don't think. That Eubank is kind of ready for that type of thing.
I'll say one thing: intellectually, no. Athletically, yes. He's an athletically gifted kid.
Yeah.
He's an athletically gifted kid.
Intellectually, oh no! Like, what was it, man? Like, to me, for the life of me, I'll never understand how he was not able to defeat George Groves in that World Series, World Boxing Super Series. I just can't.
I understand why. Stars make fights, and Groves can jab. And Eubank, jab ain't great.
Yeah,
Groves has a beautiful jab. And I'll be honest with you, even though he got knocked out by Froch, right? Whatever. He boxed the fucking brakes off Carl Froch. He really did. He put a clinic on him until he got stopped. So, I mean, Groves can box. He outboxed James DeGale when they fought. The dude can box.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was just that, when Groves had that injury, man, or the other thing, so like Eubank just couldn't take advantage, man. So I think Hardcore had basically got cut out, which was something, because I was gonna ask him about the topic of Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., but I'm gonna kind of like table that a little bit. Trying to figure out what else is out there as far as like matchups are concerned.
Of fights that were supposedly going to happen but haven't, because because Lipinets was going to fight Abdul Kakarov. Quadratilo. That was a nice fight.
What is the one that's scheduled here? George Kambosos versus Selby, right? That's another one. That's
Kambosos out of Australia, lightweight, good kid, great descent. Yeah, got good hands, moves decently well. Can get a bit flat-footed, but he's very good at fighting into the pocket. He can throw a nice right hook in there. He's also good at breaking out the clinch and freeing up his left hand inside the clinch. So he's good at all of that. Selby, obviously, he's a lot slicker than George, but he doesn't carry any power, even at featherweight, and he is way past his prime. He's up 2 weight divisions. I think George will do him just on youth activity and everything, but Selby will give him a good few rounds.
What is it? There's one guy that I've had like on the podcast multiple times. That's the current WBO super featherweight champion Jamel Herring.
Yes,
is scheduled against fight Carl Frampton.
Samper yes.
Yeah, so there's that fight also as well. And
it's an interesting matchup. I got Jamel, by the way.
Because
Warrington versus Janju. Warrington versus Janju, that's in the making. That's 2 guys who throw a lot of punches and fight in the pocket, so just enjoy that one. Enjoy that fight.
Yeah, they were going to have it, I forgot when. They were going to have it at one stadium there for Warrington. Have it like a
They never actually had that fight officially signed.
It wasn't officially signed.
But they've been looking to do it either in Leeds at Ellen Road or do it in China, possibly. They were even looking to do it at the Board's Nest, which is kind of crazy. I don't think that'll happen in the Board's Nest. I think it'll happen at Elland Road, to be honest with you. I think they'll do 28, 30K people there because Warrington has a massive fan base in Leeds. Janju, all those fans of Warrington, they'll start watching him fight just to see what he's like, and they'll want to go to see that shit because those two guys throw nothing but punches. They're there to fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real
That could be a fight of the year contender, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. And yeah, I was hoping that thing with it in the way in Casemiro was gonna happen, but man, that's out of the cards.
I was actually looking at flying from Ireland to Vegas to go see Inoue Casemiro because that's how much I love that fight.
Yeah, like those are the type of fights. Like the thing with Inoue and Donaire, like that one was like a fight of the year candidate. To watch that. I didn't think that Donaire was going to be able to compete well, but
I predicted Inoue on points in a tough fight because Donaire's chin's underrated. Remember, the only guy who ever stopped him was a prime Nicholas Walters. Nicholas Walters, like if Nicholas Walters can hit you, he's going to fuck you up. He's vicious, he's powerful, he's strong. He's going to fuck you up. Nonito Donaire, he's a fucking flyweight fighting against a massive 126-pounder there.
Yep.
Inoue himself, a flyweight, I felt that was going to be much more difficult for Inoue than people thought, and it was. Not only was it a fight of the year candidate, according to most people, it was the fight of the year last year. Like some people didn't have it, which is fair enough. Other people can pick whatever they want. I personally thought it was the fight of the year. And a lot of publications had it as fight of the year. It was a special fight. It was a special fight. It was one of those fights that had so much drama. And in that 11th round, when Nonito took a knee, like he had to take he got hit with that body shot, that beautiful body shot. He took the knee. The count actually went past 10, but the referee let him get back up. And you're like, he's finished. And he somehow rides the storm out, and they come out firing in the last round. You're like, what is this shit? You don't have moments like that very often.
Yep, that's true. That's true. And that it was like something where anyway, like really got hurt in that particular fight, man, and he had his
orbital bone fractured, and I think round 9 as well. Nonito caught him with was it the left hook or was it the straight? I think it was actually his left hook. He caught him with a jab, and then Inoue swung, and then he checked him with the left hook, and Inoue went like left right. Like he actually went whoa whoa, and I was like, oh shit, yo, Nonito got him. I
was like, whoa, yeah, that one was just a real classic fight there, man. So I'm like,
I was commentating on that on my YouTube channel, right? That's my most viewed video as well. Commentating it live, it's my most viewed video. When I was commentating on that, I spent literally about 29 minutes of the fight screaming. Because it was that exciting. It was that exciting. And when you're screaming during a fight for 29 to 30 minutes, the fight's good.
Yeah, yep. Be like, man, oh my God, like, yo, like, that one was like a great action fight there, man. So, I mean, that's the type of fights that, we want to like kind of see here once things pick back up. Like I said, if we have like a lot of these smaller scale fights happen first and then gradually build up, then I think that type of plan will help. I think it would help boxing as a whole because it would, give more attention towards the lower tier fighters and have them be almost at the level to where you're like, okay, I want to see those guys on TV too. So why not, invest a little bit more in the sport? So that you have more fights that are shown on TV, at least over here in the States. You don't necessarily have to have it to where, the zone shows every single fight. But with the other networks, at least show more fights on those networks so that people are able to see it. So that's why I kind of like say start small, have something on, over here like FS1 or ESPN3 or something like that. And have those, lower tier guys fight on, ESPN3 or whatnot, because we're like hungry for live action. Like I said over here, like there was one time where it was like on ESPN3 and they just had tennis on, and people are like watching tennis. I'm like, and they only had like 2 people watching, 2 women going at it in tennis, and I'm like, yo, like people are, they fiending right now. So that's why the whole thing with the UFC, they're saying like what had about 700,000 pay-per-view buys here. So that just says how much they want live action sports now. We hadn't, here we didn't have a NCAA basketball championship. We won't have a NBA finals or NBA playoffs or nothing like that. So like people are, screaming for live sports right now.
They are. I'm screaming for it. I mean, I'm willing to watch like horseback riding in the middle of Sweden at the moment, and that's actually taking. I was watching chess the other day. Like I do like chess. Don't get me. I like playing it. I do not like watching chess. It's boring. But I was watching it. I was like, yo, I'm watching darts with people playing each other in their own houses. I'm like, and I don't really like watching that. That's how much I'm craving it. And we have an opportunity not only to build. I think we really need prospects, like the elite level prospects. Like Hrgovic should be fighting. Like Hrgovic should don't have 2 fights behind closed doors by now. Dubois, Joyce, those guys should fight. We should be having guys fighting behind closed. The prospects really getting their name out there because so many eyes will be on them. I'm just saying, imagine putting Jaron Ennis right now against anybody on Fox Sports at 9 p.m. this Friday night. People have nothing else to watch. They turn on Fox. Boom. That dude's a star overnight. Do it.
Yep. And well, there's there's one fighter that I recently added on Facebook that's been, somewhat notable, and that's Joey DeWinsco. So somebody like him could be in a fight in a closed circuit. So, like I said, I mean, having any type of boxing match put together would benefit, everyone as a whole. I mean, for me, I kind of like said this. I'm like, if I had maybe 10 grand or something like that, I would have 10 grand to pay each fighter and then put them on in a closed circuit and just put that on TV. Shoot, I can put it on YouTube or something and see if I get, live views. You know what I mean?
Look, I'll just say this right now. Let's say I had 80 grand, right? And I could put on a solid tier card of 4 fights, right? I give each fighter, 8 fighters, 10 grand a piece, right? I guarantee you I could get 500,000 views on YouTube. Right now, if I market that right, if I make investment onto Facebook, let's say I go onto Facebook to put ads out to thousands of people or whatever, I just make a 3-4 grand investment there. I put ads up all over the place. I go onto different forums. I go into different sports forums, and I'm live boxing this. You could end up having 500,000 people who've watched it total. And maybe during the actual events, 20 to 50K. And that's just on a small tier YouTube channel. You could legitimately do that.
That's right. I'm like, even in this age of social media and how people get their stuff 24/7, 365. We're in an era where 2 guys that are basically social media stars were able to have a fight on YouTube and get how many million views for their initial fight on YouTube before they were on the zone.
Well, to be fair, those guys are actually stars. They are, even though they're YouTubers, they are stars. I don't care what anybody says. When between you have 40 million people who watch your videos, you are stars.
Yeah.
Because it's just crazy. Between you and me, we don't even have 5,000 people who are subscribed to us. I have 2,300. You have 25, I think. Between the two of us and subscribers, we're behind 5K. I mean, I get quite a few. I get a few hundred views every video, right? Every video I drop, I get 400, 500, 600 views. They get in 1 minute 160,000. Do you know what I mean? They are stars. That's stardom.
And they could just put up a video of just a minute, just a 1 minute video, and it would have that many views in that short amount of time that you stated.
Yep.
So it's like, but having that amount of exposure, there, but they kind of like built to that particular point. But here from a marketing perspective, like you said, getting that 80 grand and having, like you said, like four fights on YouTube. But like I said, if you market it right, you get about 500K.
Well, look at it like this: Ajagba, when he fought Kaladze, got 15 grand, right? I could get fighters like Ajagba versus the Mirazin. I can legitimately get all right fights onto that card for 10 grand a pop. I legitimately could, because there are fighters out there like what?
Oh shoot, what was it? Oh, the last live fight that was here. Hellenius. I wonder how much Hellenius got.
Kovnatsky got 100, and I think Hellenius got 20.
So like Hellenius versus what was it, Kaladze or Ajagba? Yeah, there you go.
There's my main event. 40 grand right there, 20K a piece, and then I get a few like guys who are only taking 5-6K a fight. 5-6K. So I could put like a Conway on. Conway is a British fighter who fought Cheeseman. He's all right. And put him on against.
I could get my guy over in the DC area, Kobe Abriti, that's there around the featherweight, division or whatnot, and say, hey, I'll call him up, or I'll call his trainer up and say, Coach Floyd, hey, 5 grand, Kobe Soldier Brady, put him on this card. He'll be on YouTube. And then that's that. I'm like, yo.
Yeah, man. I'm just saying, if I had 80 grand, I could do something, but I don't have 80 grand.
Yeah, I don't have 80 grand, man. I don't know, man. I'm going to try to see if I can get a loan or something. See, I have a credit score to do it or something. Like, give me a credit.
I got my house, so I ain't putting it up for collateral,
no, don't do that. No.
I ain't putting my house up as collateral. I've got a few K in the bank, and that's what I'm living off at the moment because of COVID. I lost my job,
Yeah, man. Yeah, you gotta get that stuff going, man. But yeah, like this is something that they could come up with, but right now it seems like they're kind of like dragging their feet as far as like having this live action is concerned, when a couple of weeks ago you had fights over at Nicaragua, man. So if they could have fights in Nicaragua, come on, man. Like if you could have Vince McMahon have Brock Lesnar versus who was it? Who was my guy? Shoot. Why can't I see? That's how far I haven't been following wrestling.
Brock Lesnar versus
Seth
Rollins.
No, not Rollins.
Was this recently?
Yes, recent. The WrestleMania thing. Oh shoot! Because if I go on BoxRec, it's gonna be on there because they were talking about the guy wrestling Tyson Fury.
Braun Strowman.
Well, no, they already had that, but they're talking about the guy that's currently a world champion that was going to wrestle Tyson Fury. So I was like,
oh shit, yeah.
Why can't I think of this? I'm like, I have. Oh, there it goes. Drew McIntyre. That's who it is. Drew McIntyre. So
that's footy, bro.
Yeah, I couldn't for the life of me think of his name, man. I was like, come on. But yeah, you had like they had the 2-day event over in Orlando. They did the whole little production with the Undertaker and AJ Styles, and people were like talking about that for about a week and a half. So the way that they had been able to pull that off was very successful for them. So I don't see like how some of these, boxing promotional guys could do something where they could pull something like this off. But actually, a lot of the smaller scale promoters should be able to try to do this. I think they should try to do it. Like, say,
Well,
you
there
know
is
what?
one thing I'll say. There is one thing I'll say. Do you know who Steve Goodwin is in the UK?
The who?
Steve Goodwin.
I may have heard that name once before.
Okay, so he's a promoter in the UK. He majorly does a lot of small hall shows. He right. Let me find this tweet. I need to go back on my tweets and my replies because he's a nice guy and he's very accessible. Steve Goodwin, very accessible. So he, huh?
No, Jimmy Bison says unrivaled is global.
Anyway, Steve Goodwin was saying that there will be no small hall shows, in his opinion, until March next year in the UK.
What?
He was saying a small hall show, say with 5 fights, and the requirements would cost about £40,000 with production on top. And then I messaged him saying, "Jesus, is it really that bad?" And then he goes, "With no gate and having to pay 10 fighters purses, that's about it. You might have some off by having a gym venue and having lower grade fights, but the cost of that the board would require, and what the board will require, could be 10 to 15,000 pounds. So even with YouTube money at $4.99 a pay per view, look at it like this: he needs 12,000 pay per view boys on a fight where nobody knows who they are.
At minimum,
to get 60 grand to pretty much just cover it and break completely even.
Yeah. And the thing is, now with the scale of how this thing has gone, insurance is going to be, pretty much a huge issue from this point forward. As far as like booking venues and having, the fighters there. So they have to like add that cost to what they're trying to pull off. So that's like a huge deterrent for some of these smaller scale promoters to try to do. For me, I thought like somebody like a Lou DiBella would try to, do something like this over in, the New York area, or try to find somewhere to go here in the States to, try to do smaller scale fights, because you have the things with PBC and Matchroom and Top Rank and Queensberry and all of those. But like you said, you have the, fight cards that are over in Hull. You have local fight cards that are, over in Philadelphia or DC or, anywhere.
They're pretty much dead right now. They're dead right now.
Like
boxing gyms are closing. Boxing gyms are closing down for good because they can't afford the rent on anything anymore. They're going bankrupt. And that is a very tragic thing. I've heard a couple of trainers who've been talking about that, like local trainers even around here, who will not be opening up their facilities. Like, there's a boxing gym about 25 minutes from me. St. Pappins. It's a good boxing gym. It brings through quite a few amateurs. Some good amateurs have come through that gym from here in Ireland, right? That gym has now ceased. It's now completely ceased. They will not be able to reopen. They don't have the money behind them. They were struggling to break even every month for the last 6 years. They are done.
Yeah. And the thing is with that, like you said, a lot of them do close down because it's not like, all of these countries have the structural system to where people could get bailed out. Because, like here, people got bailed out, businesses getting bailed out. So, we're able to hold on for a little bit longer because we have a government system in place that, helps us out or gives us, a little bit in order to get us through this particular time period. But other governments around the world can't do that. So with that being said, it's not like, these guys are getting and breaking energy costs or, operating costs, rental costs and things like that. They're not able to get that. So with that happening, they're just saying like, hey, we just can't afford it anymore. So we just have to, give it up. So now, whether it's, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, or whatever, like when things are starting to get back up again, a lot of the guys, like you said, that the smaller scale trainers, promoters, fighters, they're basically done, because they won't be able to train. They won't have the facilities to train, or the money to keep things going. So that's one thing that a lot of people are not kind of looking at, in a sense, is that these large scale events are being canceled out, but also many smaller events have been canceled, and this is kind of like the way that a lot of these fighters and trainers and whatever make their money. And if they can't make their money that way, then they're basically out of it completely.
Yep, absolutely. And it is actually a very sad and harsh reality, not just for us as boxing fans, but for trainers and also for fighters, and possibly, whether people realize it or not, it could be a sad thing going forward in their sport, because there's going to be a lot of local boxing gyms shutting down. And they may be the only gym where there could be a special talent lurking around that we may never
Right.
get to see because of that. I mean,
Right.
in Pappins, there was this kid. His name's Oliver. He's 9 years old, right? He's had 10 amateur fights. He's won them all by knockout. I've seen him sparring with 15, 16-year-old kids and rip them to pieces. I'm talking knocking out 15, 16-year-olds who are going towards national level. He's a special kid. The next closest gym for him is now 6 miles away. When COVID ends, like, I volunteered for a couple of months until his parents can to drive him up to the gym, because I don't want to see a kid like that's talent go to waste. I do not, because he's scary. He's scary, frightening, and I wish him nothing but the best, because if he stays dedicated, bro, I'm telling you right now, he's already got like really good feet, but his power as well, and the size of him, like, he's 9 years old and he's 5'4". He's a big 9-year-old, bro. He's big. He's big. He's fast. He's big. He's fast. He's 130. He's pretty much Gary Russell. This is a 9-year-old girl. He's got fast hands, but it's not just that. He's smart. He's picking his shots. He's timing people. He's got a jab. He's got good reach on him, and he's beating up on people, man. And he's so educated with what he does, because he started falling in love with boxing as a kid because he would be with his dad at 2 years of age watching all of the fights. And the fights that his dad made him watch the most were of Floyd and Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns. And so he was watching those dudes like on tape, like age 3, age 4. And you can see that he fights like Tommy. That's what he fights like. But he also, I know a lot of people, he does not do the Philly shell at all. A lot of people do. He does something that Pretty Boy did against Southpaws. He puts those up, right? And he covers.
Yeah.
But you know what Tommy did? The way he'd, like, bring his left arm down to tuck from body shots? He's doing that as well.
Man.
Yeah. So he's hard to hit.
Goodness. 9 years old. Like you said, 5'4". Like,
oh, I had him on pads and he was stinging my fingers.
jeez.
Like, my fingers were like, I had a heavyweight. I had a 17-year-old heavyweight do pads with me, and like my shoulder was a bit tired. This kid wasn't actually making my shoulder sore. He was making my hands sting, which, if you've ever done pads, making someone's hands sting is hard.
Yeah.
So he's got that type of strength, that's the knockout type of strength. That's not power, that's precision. Everything's landing on the same spot over again. That's bad news. And I don't want to see talents like that, because there could be another 9-year-old somewhere in, I don't know, there could be another 9-year-old somewhere out in the middle of Oklahoma whose gym is going to close down, and he could be ripping the shit up, and he could be an Olympian. Like this kid, I think this kid will be an Olympian, to be honest.
He could be a potential Olympian, and you bring up the thing with Olympics, like that's scrap. So I mean, I had
2021. But what I will say is I'm happy about that, because it's given me more ability to save up money, because I can't get any network to take me on. I'm huge on the amateur shit. I know all of the amateur guys. I wanted to cover it. No network will take me on to do it. I'm disappointed in them. I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to go over and cover the Olympics myself for my channel, and I think that'll give my channel great growth.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be something really to focus on, because you will have some that will be able to get their opportunity to be in the Olympics this time around. But at the same token, there are some that wanted to see if they could go in as scheduled for 2020, and they're not able to do it. And because of that, they're gonna go ahead and turn pro. But like you're saying with the 9-year-old. There's a lot of these gyms, they're going to close down, and that means that a lot of kids won't have that, opportunity to, go into a boxing gym and, be an aspiring fighter. And a lot of times this is their way, out of, getting into trouble in that type of stuff. Kind of like goes into a lyric from Jadakiss. He says, like, why is their brother Roy better than Jordan, who ain't get that break? And now with this, whole thing with the COVID stuff going on, like, that means like a good number of, aspiring fighters aren't able to do what they're supposed to do, because a lot of the gyms in the area are closing down, and they're closing down permanently, like you said. So it's like, where are they turn to?
And you also know, like I do, a lot of these poorer gyms that are in these weird areas, there's a lot of shit trainers, right? There is. But you also know that there is some out there who still know what they're doing. Big time know what they're doing. I know a great trainer here. His name's Patrick Riley. This dude, he's trained a lot of amateurs who've gone on to become professionals, but that's where he leaves them when they leave amateurs. Tremendous amateur trainer, trained so many dudes through the years. Nobody fucking knows who he is. He's from a small little local gym, right? This dude, he reads the game a different way. You go up to him and talk to him about a fighter, you're learning. You're just learning. He can teach you so much shit. And people like him are going to be gone. Because it's not just him. There's many of them around. And I know you know this as well. Some of the most unknown people in boxing are the most knowledgeable.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to be respected. There are guys out there who most people wouldn't have ever heard of who could literally break down the entire sport from start to finish to you, and you'd just be like, where the fuck did you learn this? And it's because they truly love it.
Yep. That's it. Love of the game, love of the sport. And they dedicate their, blood, sweat, and tears, as they like to say, for it. And
like, I remember Manny Stewart once said, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he said there's a trainer who doesn't train professional fighters, right? Who's better than me and Eddie Futch combined at training. Like, he won't, I can't remember who it was. He said it's a dude most people don't know, and he just trains whatever, but the techniques he teaches you and how he teaches them to you, he can teach you how to be flawless with them.
It's just craziness there, man. Like, like I said, a lot of these, smaller gyms and areas that, have these boxing gyms, they're going to be closed down permanently. And a lot of the fighters that were, part of those gyms, will either have to look elsewhere or, give up altogether. And that's, something that...
Because they could be in a large area that has no other boxing gyms. Like,
yeah.
Especially in America. And that's why I'm thinking about it in America. In Ireland, to be honest, it's a small place. It's the size of Indiana. You know what I mean? If your boxing gym closes in your area, it's 2-3 miles. If you wanted that bad, walk to it. Fighters in the past used to walk 10 miles to the gym and 10 miles home. Even further than that, because they had to.
Yep.
But we're going to see that happen in America probably. Like, they'll have to walk 10, 15 miles to go to their gym, or get driven 25, 35, 40 miles, depending where they live. And that'll also become taxing on parents, money, financially, petrol costs, and coming out of it. There's a possibility we're not going to have certain talents possible just because of this one thing. And it's we'll never realize it, but when you think about it really in depth, it's a strong possibility.
Yeah. And, you talk about those that have to go long distances for these gyms. Not only that, if you don't necessarily have the trainers out there, like a lot of the gyms won't be able to handle that much of a load. So possibly they're going to have to say, we're at capacity. This is all that we can handle. And you'll have to see if you can find another gym. And that other gym might, might have to be even further than that. And that's where you get to that breaking point where it's like, I'm not going to pay all these, things for gas money and the time and all of this stuff just to, stay focused on the sport. So
where did the other two gentlemen go? The other two gentlemen left.
They had, I think the thing with Jay Hardcore Boxing News, I think his like phone went out or whatever it was. And, boy,
I thought it was because I was from the UK that they left.
Nah, it's not it. I think I think they had to, go out to do, a couple of things and whatnot. So I'll be able to hit them up. But I will, put a close to this discussion. I thank you, Brother Mark, Unrivaled Boxing Talking News, for coming on to this live discussion. For those who don't know, you can follow Unrivaled Boxing Talking News on YouTube. He has like live discussions on there. He also has a specific character on there as well that you would enjoy. So be sure to check that out.
The potato.
Yeah, the potato. Potato man. Spud is there. So
let me say this real fast. I got accused of being racist by someone from Ireland because I was using a potato because they didn't think I was Irish. That was the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. I was like, what? I'm like,
oh
no. Like, my family are like here for generations upon generations. My family came through the potato famine. I can talk as a potato, right? Calm down. That was funny, man. That was so fucking weird.
Oh wow, that's just crazy. Yeah, but yeah, y'all catch Unrivaled Boxing Talking News on YouTube. They have here the Boxing Source on YouTube, and we'll have like segments of the Boxing Source radio show that's usually live Sundays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, but also available on iTunes and Anchor.fm. So be sure to check all of that out. And on that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.
Peace.